Her? That's who has his attention? A waitress in secondhand shoes? I've hosted galas, walked red carpets, been the envy of every woman in this city. And yet, he's looking at her like she's... enough? No. No, I won't let her take what I fought for. I won't let her take what I fought for. Vanessa's inner voice, whispery, proud, but cracking slightly, said. Then she confronts him. That girl? She scrubs tables for a living. She serves coffee in secondhand shoes. You're Alexander King, and you belong in my world, Alexander, not hers. A billionaire torn between pride and faith. Two women, one consumed by jealousy, the other crowned with grace. But only one can capture not just his heart, but his soul. Welcome, beloved family, to Heritage TV, where faith, love, and hope come alive in timeless stories. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you tuning in from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I'd love to know your story, because it matters. Today's story is one of true love, the kind of love only God can orchestrate. Faith, humility, and destiny. It is set in our modern world, yet inspired by the ancient biblical tale of Esther and Vashti. It's a Cinderella-like journey of a poor but radiant young woman, a wealthy man searching for true love, and the destructive power of jealousy. Sit back, relax, and let's step into a world of luxury, heartbreak, and hope. Alexander King, filthy rich. The kind of man who could buy an island before breakfast and close $1 billion deal before lunch. Ruthless in the boardroom, cold in negotiations. To him, business was war, and he never lost. Heir to a global empire, young, tall, and handsome. His wealth stretched across continents, private jets, mansions by the sea, exotic cars, and an army of employees. Known for lavish parties, the man every woman wanted, and every man wanted to be. He had the charm, the money, the name, but was aloof, untouched by emotion. He was no stranger to beauty. He lived in palaces of glass, dined with kings, with actresses, danced with models, and flown halfway across the world for parties that lasted until dawn, and drifted through relationships as though they were business transactions. Alexander King was the name that made boardrooms tremble. He was ruthless in business, sharp as a blade, and unforgiving to rivals. Deals were not negotiated, they were conquered. Despite all he has, his hunger for more was insatiable. In the office, he was all steel and strategy. He worked hard tirelessly, relentlessly, driving his empire forward with the force of a storm. Yet when the deals were signed, and the ink was dry, Alexander played even harder. The tabloids knew him as the billionaire who could silence a competitor by day, then light up the Riviera by night. His yachts carried the elite, his parties lasted till sunrise. His charm left no heart untouched. Men admired him, women adored him, but few truly knew him. For beneath the ruthless mogul and the glamorous playboy was a hollowness he dared not face. To him, every woman was predictable. They wanted the shine, the status, the seat beside his throne. And Alexander, aloof as ever, gave them his smile, his arm, his fortune, but never himself. He had everything except peace. Love? It's an illusion. People want my money, not me. So why pretend? Life is short. Why stick to one when I can have them all? Money, fame, beauty, I have it all. He mustered, playfully, charmingly. Yet deep inside, Alexander felt empty, and with all his riches, his heart was restless. After the parties ended, after the women left, silence filled his penthouse. He was surrounded by luxury, yet starved for love. At his side, often as his shadow, was Vanessa Williams, his on-again, off-again companion. Beautiful, elegant, a stunning socialite, admired by many, feared by more. She knew how to command a room, but behind her beauty was something darker, ambition laced with jealousy and pride. She loved Alexander's wealth, the lifestyle, and the spotlight, but not his soul. She matched his flamboyant life, at least on the surface. Together, they turned heads at every gala, but Vanessa's heart was filled with envy, not love. Alexander, when we attend tonight's gala, remember, I am the star. Don't waste your time with ordinary people. Remember, you and I are a perfect match. The world envies us, Vanessa intoned proudly. Alexander laughed it off, but somewhere deep down, he wondered, is this all there is? Behind the glitter, Vanessa clung to fear. Fear that Alexander's heart was never hers. Fear that one day, another woman might threaten her throne. Vanessa, fixing her makeup before the gala, whispered to herself in the mirror coldly, "I built this. I won't let anyone take it from me." Across the city, in a small community, lived Esther Johnson. Esther Johnson was born into hardship. Her father, a taxi driver, passed away when she was 10, leaving her mother to raise 3 children in a cramped apartment on the outskirts of the city. They did not have much, sometimes not enough food, sometimes no electricity, but they had faith. Esther's mother would gather them around a flickering candle and whisper, "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." From those nights, Esther learned that light is not found in chandeliers, but in the Word of God. She worked her way through school, cleaning offices in the mornings, attending classes during the day, and caring for her younger siblings at night. Her dreams were not draped in diamonds or mansions. They were woven in prayer, in quiet service, in believing that one day God would use her life to shine. Suddenly, her mother became frail and fell sick. She left Esther to carry burdens far too heavy for her small shoulders, and so Esther grew up fast. At 16, she had to find more work. She also worked as a waitress in a small cafe, using her little earnings to care for her sick mother and to help the children at her church during the day. She worked tirelessly, and at night, she helped care for orphans, gave the little she had, and believed in God's promises. Her beauty was undeniable, but it was her humility and kindness that shone brighter than gold. Esther remained hopeful, her faith unshaken. "Lord, you say in Jeremiah 29:11, 'For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.' You also say in Isaiah 61:3 that you give beauty for ashes. I believe you are writing my story, even in this season of waiting. I believe, Lord, my story will not end in tears," she said softly, hopeful. Esther's life seemed ordinary, but heaven had written an extraordinary chapter for her. One stormy night, after a dazzling but empty banquet, Alexander wandered into a small cafe, dressed simply, no luxury on display. He wanted for once to blend in, hoping to be unseen. But he was not unseen to Esther. There, behind the counter, was Esther. She greeted him with a smile that no amount of gold could buy. "Good evening, sir. You look tired. Coffee?" she said, smiling. "Coffee? Yes. Black, please. And what if I want more than coffee? Maybe a smile to go with it." Alexander replied, playful but tiredly. That night, when he slipped into the cafe, he carried the same armor of indifference. Another woman, another smile, another moment, soon forgotten. Yet when Esther looked up at him, everything changed. Her smile was not the practiced charm of Vanessa, nor the hungry gaze of countless admirers. It was soft, genuine, born of a heart anchored in God. It carried warmth, as though she had walked through storms and chosen joy. Her radiance was quiet, yet undeniable. Not stitched into gowns, not painted on her face, but flowing from within. Esther laughed softly, unfazed by his charm. She did not flutter, did not falter, did not melt beneath his presence. For the first time, Alexander met a woman he could not impress with money or swagger. Esther replied warmly. "A smile, of course," she said calmly. "But sir, you look like someone who needs rest more than caffeine," she added. Alexander looked up, surprised. No one dared suggest what he needed. Her smile was not impressed, not hungry for approval. It was genuine, almost disarming. "Alexander Halfsmirk, testing hair, and you look like someone who doesn't know who she's talking to." Esther laughs gently, unbothered. "I don't need to know who you are, sir. People are more than their names or their wallets. You're human, and humans need rest." For the man who ruled boardrooms and shattered rivals with a glance, this quiet girl's words cut deeper than any business rival ever could. She saw not the billionaire, not the playboy, just the man. Strange. No one talks to me like this. No one dares, Alexander thought to himself, surprised, unsettled. And in that moment, with nothing more than a smile and a simple truth, Esther Johnson planted a seed that would one day grow into faith, redemption, and a love greater than gold. Her soft laughter, humility, and grace melted Alexander's heart instantly. To Alexander, Esther's smile was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was not the painted, polished smile of Vanessa, the kind that glittered with pride but carried no warmth. Vanessa's beauty was dazzling. Yes, she wore luxury like armor gowns, shimmering under chandeliers, diamonds that demanded attention, a presence that filled rooms with envy. Yet her beauty was the kind that faded once the lights dimmed, once the applause ended. Esther's beauty was different. It was quiet, almost fragile, but impossible to ignore. Her glow was not stitched into her dress, nor hung around her neck. It came from within, from faith, from kindness, from the way her eyes rested on a person with compassion instead of calculation. Her radiance was quiet, yet undeniable, not stitched into gowns, not painted on her face, but flowing from within. Vanessa's charm consumed, Esther's radiance restored. One dazzled the senses, the other nourished the soul. How is it that this girl, with no crown, no jewels, no title, makes the world around her brighter? How is it that I feel seen? Alexander wondered. He felt unsettled. For the first time in years, the aloof billionaire felt a stirring he could not name. He had tasted every luxury, every fleeting pleasure, but this quiet smile unnerved him. It spoke not of desire, but of something far deeper, something eternal. A woman had not tried to dazzle him. She did not chase, did not bend, did not even try. She simply was. And in that simplicity, she outshone them all. Her radiance was quiet, yet undeniable, not stitched into gowns, not painted on her face, but flowing from within. Alexander King was not the kind of man who repeated himself. He did not revisit old places. He did not chase. The world chased him. Yet 3 nights later, the sound of a bell above the cafe door announced what even he couldn't explain. Esther, cheerful, surprised. Back again, sir? Didn't I tell you what you needed was rest? Alexander half smirked, masking himself. Maybe I'm here to prove you wrong. Or maybe your coffee really is the best in the city. But they both knew it wasn't the coffee, it was her smile. That unshaken calm, that strange radiance he could neither buy nor conquer. He kept coming back, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for hours, hiding behind sunglasses, sometimes pretending to be busy on his phone, but always watching Esther. To Esther, he was just a man searching for something, though he would never admit it. To Alexander, she was a puzzle. How could someone who had so little glow as though she had everything? Esther, during one conversation, said gently, "You seem to have all the world could ever offer. But tell me, does it satisfy your soul?" Alexander, caught off guard, laughed defensively. Soul? That's not really my department. I deal in numbers, not prayers. Esther, smiling, unwavering. Numbers fade, wealth passes. But a soul? That lasts forever. You should take care of it. Her smile disarmed him. Her laughter made him curious. And her faith, her faith confused him. She spoke of God as though he was near, as though he was real, as though he was enough. Viewers, I want to pause and ask you, have you ever met someone who unsettled you? Not with power or beauty, but with truth? Someone who saw past your walls? Tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from, and if you've ever had an Esther moment in your life. I'd love to hear your story. Soon, Vanessa began to notice Alexander's constant trips downtown. One day, she followed his vehicle to the cafe and laughed at first. Surely it was a passing whim, but later, when she walks into the cafe, head high, eyes sharp, she notices Alexander watching Esther not with desire but with respect. He was talking animatedly and laughing with her, their faces radiant, her mouth curdled into rage. She was furious, jealousy flamed within her. Her? That's who has his attention? A waitress in secondhand shoes? I've hosted galas, walked red carpets, been the envy of every woman in this city. And yet, he's looking at her like she's enough. No, I won't let her take what I fought for. Vanessa's inner voice, whispery, proud, but cracking slightly, said. She confronts him. That girl? She scrubs tables for a living. She serves coffee in secondhand shoes. You're Alexander King, and you belong in my world, Alexander, not hers. But Alexander didn't answer, and silence, more than words, told Vanessa she was losing him. Then she began to harass Esther. She shows up at the cafe, orders rudely, mocks Esther in front of customers. She said with a fake smile, cruel, "Oh, darling, do wipe this table faster. We wouldn't want Alexander to see how clumsy you are, would we?" She tried to humiliate Esther. She tried to flaunt her wealth, her beauty, her place. But Esther's quiet grace only made her cruelty louder. Jealousy sharpened her tongue, every word a dart meant to wound. But Esther answered softly, with grace. Esther, gentle, enjoy your coffee, Miss Pierce. God bless you. And in that moment, even the cafe crowd shifted. For all Vanessa's diamonds, Esther's peace sparkled brighter. The more she tried to belittle Esther, the brighter Esther's grace shone. Vanessa lashed out with cruelty, even ordering coffee just to mock her. But Esther answered every insult with kindness and praise for her in secret. Friends, have you ever seen such faith? Have you ever met someone who glowed in hardship, whose peace could not be broken? Tell me in the comments who has been that light in your own life. One night, in the middle of a storm, soft thunder rumbling. While Esther was cleaning up after hours, Alexander walks in, drenched, not in his tailored armor this time, but in weariness. He didn't stride in like the conqueror of empires. He stumbled in, like a man chased by shadows. For once, Alexander King wasn't the billionaire, the ruthless boardroom warrior, the man who worked hard and played harder. He was broken, tired, weary, searching. Esther, gentle, concerned, you shouldn't be out in this storm. Sit. Let me get you something warm. Alexander, voice hoarse, desperate, revealed, I have everything, and yet I feel like I have nothing. Sir, why aren't you afraid of losing? Why aren't you afraid of being nothing? He asked. Because I know I am not nothing. I belong to Christ. He gives me peace this world can't touch. Esther replied softly, firmly. You always look at me like I'm just a man. Do you know what they call me out there? Ruthless, heartless, untouchable. And maybe they're right. I've built everything, empires, towers, fortunes. But at night, when the noise fades, I feel nothing. Nothing but emptiness. Came Alexander's broken, weary voice. Alexander, that emptiness is not a curse. It's a call to the one who alone can fill it. You've been chasing the world, but the world cannot give peace. Only Jesus can, Esther assured him. And in that quiet cafe, with rain washing the streets and silence filling the spaces between them, Esther spoke not as a barista, not as a poor girl, but as a daughter of God. Esther, quoting softly, with a smile, Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Alexander, he's not after your empire. He's after you. Alexander, voice cracking, whispers, and if he knew the things I've done, he already does. And still, he loves you, Esther informs him gently, radiant. And for the first time in his life, Alexander King wept not in defeat, but in longing. Longing for the faith Esther carried like treasure. Has your soul ever longed for that peace only Christ can bring? Share it in the comments. You're not alone. Alexander bows his head, tears mixing with the storm's reflection outside. Esther reaches out not to hold his hand romantically, but gently, as a friend, pointing him toward God. That night, for the first time in years, Alexander King found something greater than power, greater than wealth, greater than even love. He found faith, and only then could love have a chance. And in his penthouse later that night, staring at the Bible Esther gave him, awkwardly he knelt to pray. But Vanessa would not let go. In desperation, she launched her final gambit. She arranged an extravagant trip, promising Alexander the life he once adored. Hosting Alexander on a luxury yacht, laughter and champagne echoing, but her eyes searching his face. But Vanessa's inner voice, shaky, almost pleading beneath the glamour, said to her, Smile, Vanessa. Keep the lights bright. He must remember who he is. He loves this. The glitter, the music, the women. He has to. If he forgets, then who am I? Without him, without this life, I'm nothing. No, he won't leave me. He can't. She whispered in his ear, This is the life you were born for. But as Alexander looked out at the waves, and in the silence, he realized this was emptiness dressed in gold. He saw the truth. It was an empty throne. Vanessa, sultri, desperate. You were born for this life, Alexander. Don't throw it away for faith or love or that girl who can't even afford pearls. Alexander, though tempted, chooses peace over pleasure. Firm, Calmly, Alexander looked at her. "No, Vanessa. This isn't who I am anymore." Vanessa humiliates Esther publicly at an event organized by Alexander's company, mocking her poverty, trying to strip her dignity before the elite. Esther, though wounded, does not retaliate. Instead, she whispers to Alexander gently, resolute, "Don't be angry. Pray for her." And, in that moment, Alexander knew true strength wasn't ruthless. It was grace. Alexander in his world. Once a man of endless parties, champagne glasses, and flashing cameras, now the same cameras catch him differently, the city whispered. The billionaire who once filled headlines with scandal now slipped quietly into churches, into charity events, into spaces no one expected. Ruthless Alexander King was changing. Not overnight, not perfectly, but undeniably. He attends church regularly, watching Esther sing in the choir. He donates anonymously to a children's hospital, but the media finds out. He spends time at a homeless shelter, listening instead of commanding. He skips parties. He prays alone, awkwardly at first, reads the Bible Esther gifted him in private. He still walks into the cafe, but instead of arrogance, there's humility in his eyes. Vanessa refuses to believe he has changed. Esther said softly, one evening as she serves him tea, "You're different, Alexander. There's peace in your eyes." Alexander smiled gently. "Or maybe for the first time, there's less war." "You were right, Esther. I'd built an empire but left my soul bankrupt. God is teaching me. Slowly, patiently." She had seen it too many times. People who promised change but never meant it. But with Alexander, it wasn't words. It was action. It was fruit. And that began to soften her heart. She let her walls down, not because of Alexander's wealth, but because of his faith. His lifestyle of playboy arrogance is slowly being replaced by humility and purpose. Alexander looked at her seriously, vulnerable. "Esther, I need to ask you something. Why did you never look at me the way everyone else did? Not as a billionaire, not as a name, but just a man?" "Because I knew Alexander King didn't need another fan. He needed a savior. And until you found him, I couldn't give you my heart," she replied after a gentle pause. And that night, as he held her gaze clear, unwavering, radiant, Alexander understood. Her love was not for sale. It was a gift, a holy one he would have to grow into. Really, friends, isn't that the kind of love we all long for? A love that doesn't bow to wealth, fame, or pressure, but waits for faith, waits for transformation. Have you ever seen God change someone's heart in ways money never could? I'd love to hear your story. In the lush, private garden of Alexander's estate, where Alexander takes Esther for a walk, luxurious but serene roses, fountains, soft golden sunset, Alexander King could buy every diamond in the city. But walking beside Esther in a simple sundress, he realized this was wealth. Not the kind stored in banks, but the kind treasured in the soul. "Tell me, Esther, do you always smile like that? It's unfair. The boardroom never prepared me for a battle like this." Alexander, playful but sincerely asked. Esther, laughing, radiant, "You'll lose this battle, Alexander. My smile isn't mine, it's his light shining through me." And for the first time, the man who once thought everything could be conquered wanted not to conquer, but to cherish. Soon, Alexander invited Esther to a charity ball. She hesitated. She had no gown, no jewels. But a kind church sister lent her a dress. Meanwhile, in her penthouse, Vanessa said as she sat in front of the mirror applying makeup before the gala, staring at herself, her inner voice, cold, bitter. "Do you see this face? This perfection? It's what kept him by my side, what made the world bow. I gave up everything to keep this life. I cannot, will not let some church girl with a soft smile undo me. He belongs in this world, with me." It was an extravagant charity gala at one of Alexander's hotels. Crystal chandeliers shimmer, violins hum softly, gowns sweep across polished marble floors. The world expects the ruthless billionaire to appear with someone dazzling on his arm. Vanessa, dressed like a queen, waited for Alexander's hand when Esther walked into that hall in a simple, elegant gown, radiant without jewels. The whole room turned. Her beauty silenced the crowd, not for her wealth or style, but for her pure, radiant grace. Vanessa burned with rage. Vanessa's inner voice panic rising. She came? Here? Among us? No, she doesn't belong in this world. Not in silk and chandeliers. Not with him. He's mine. He'll choose me. He always has. How dare she walk in here and steal my spotlight? Vanessa thought to herself, furious. Who is that girl? Guests asked curiously, whispering. She dares to walk in here like a queen? She's nothing, she said venomously to her socialite friends. But when Alexander King entered that night, he was not the man they remembered. The playboy aura was gone. In its place, a quiet strength, a peace. Gasps ripple across the room as Alexander walks past a cluster of women vying for his attention. His eyes search only for one face. Esther, in a modest yet graceful gown, a simple lilac dress that catches the light in a way money could never buy. Vanessa's inner voice shattering, broken whisper. He didn't even look at me. After all these years, after everything I gave, he chose her. Not the diamonds, not the throne, her. And now, I'm the one, standing empty. No, this isn't happening. Not to me. Vanessa, furious, whisper. She stands frozen, diamonds sparkling but suddenly heavy, her painted smile trembling. Once the queen of every room, now invisible. All her laughter, all her beauty, all her pride. It could not keep what was never hers to hold. He chose her, her simplicity, her faith, her smile. And I'm left with glitter that no longer shines. Oh God, why does it hurt so much? She muttered to herself, broken. Alexander only had eyes for Esther. For once, the playboy didn't play, he was in love. Among diamonds and rubies, it was her quiet radiance that outshone them all. She didn't try. She simply was. Alexander approaches, offers his hand. The crowd watches, murmurs. Esther hesitates, then places her hand in his. The orchestra swells as they begin to dance. Alexander, soft, almost trembling, said, Esther, I've conquered boardrooms, demolished rivals, built empires. And yet the greatest victory of my life was losing myself to grace and finding you standing there, pointing me to him. Esther looks up at him, her smile radiant, eyes glistening. Alexander, lowering his voice, earnest. I used to chase shadows that left me empty. But now, I want to build something different. A life of faith, a life of love, not with contracts or power, but with covenant, with you. He pauses, then gently quotes scripture, Proverbs 18:22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Esther, will you let me spend my life seeking his favor with you? The music slows. The crowd fades into a blur. Esther's voice is soft, but steady with tears, but a radiant smile. Yes, Alexander. But not because of the wealth or the diamonds, but because I've seen Christ in you. I prayed for someone who loved Jesus more than he loved me. And tonight I see that man standing before me. She places her hand on his chest, whispering, yes, 1,000 times yes. And as Alexander declared his love for Esther, Vanessa's face crumbled, her crown shattered not by scandal, but by grace she could not understand. For what she sought in control, Esther won through kindness. And so, in a hall of splendor, under chandeliers and whispers of envy, a new story began. A ruthless billionaire transformed by grace, a poor girl lifted by faith, and the jealous heart learned that no beauty, no wealth, no power can stand against love rooted in God. Not a tale of conquest, but of covenant. Not a Cinderella fantasy, but a Christ-centered love. Vanessa quietly slips out of the ballroom, her heels echoing on the marble. Outside, she leans against the cold stone wall, mascara smudging as tears finally fall. Some losses wound deeper than defeat. This was not the loss of a man, but the loss of meaning. Vanessa had built her world on herself, only to find it crumbling when faced with love anchored in faith. Vanessa wipes her tears, looking up at the night sky, the city lights shimmering below. For the first time, her voice is not sharp or proud, but small. God, if you're real, if you can love someone like her, him, maybe, just maybe, you can still love someone like me. Vanessa's inner voice trembling prayed, half resigned, half pleading. She takes a deep breath, gathers herself, and disappears into the night. Not redeemed yet, but with a fragile seed of hope planted in her heart. In the days after, Vanessa tried to cling to her old kingdom, but the world saw through her. Influence faded. Friends vanished. And in her solitude, she finally asked the question Alexander had asked before her. Is this all? Perhaps, one day, even Vanessa would find the same faith Esther carried. But for now, her throne stood empty. And isn't that all of us, friends? Some of us are Esther humble, waiting, radiant with faith. Some of us are Alexander powerful, broken, needing redemption. And some of us are Vanessa grasping, afraid to let go. But the good news is, grace waits for us all. No matter who we are in the story, the author of our lives can rewrite our ending. And so, in a beautiful ceremony set in a grand cathedral, with chandeliers glowing and angelic choirs singing Amazing Grace, Alexander and Esther became husband and wife. He, once aloof and reckless, now a man of faith. She, once poor and forgotten, now a beloved queen in his heart. The humble girl from the cafe and the billionaire heir. A Cinderella story, but with God as the author. Their love, envied by the world, was founded not on riches, but on faith, humility, and trust in God. And as they exchanged vows, Esther whispered in her heart, "This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes." And so, a ruthless billionaire found grace, a poor girl found love, and a jealous heart learned that no wealth, no beauty, no power can stand against a love built on faith. Dear friends, this is not just a story. It is a reminder that no heart is too far for God to transform, and no life is too low for God to lift. True love is not found, nor measured in wealth, fame, status, or beauty, but in humility, kindness, and faith in God. And what kind of love story do you believe God is writing for you? I'd love to hear your love stories, your testimonies, or even your hopes for the future. Drop them in the comments below. We're building a family of faith here. If you were inspired by Alexander and Esther's story, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more heartwarming, faith-filled stories. Remember, when God writes your love story, it will be more beautiful than you could ever imagine. God bless you.